Hello everyone, I'm Caitlin Miller and I'm from Miller Flowers here in Greenville, Ohio. We are a greenhouse, garden center, and florist. So today for episode 3 of To Plant a Garden, we are going to be chatting about starting seeds and our favorite dazzling dozen tomatoes. The reason why many people plant a garden is because it's more cost efficient to plant a garden for a family than it is to buy fresh veggies from the grocery store. The other day I was in at Kroger, that is our local grocery store here in Greenville, Ohio, and as I was shopping I was noticing that the tomatoes are on, I don't know if they're on sale, but they are being sold for $1.69 for a pound of tomatoes. As we look at that and then we take that and compare it with what a tomato plant is, for $3.99 you can buy a tomato plant which produces 50 to 60 pounds of tomatoes, like the big boy, per plant. Sometimes you can even get 100 tomatoes off of a big boy plant. So as prices continue to increase in the stores, gardening is going to be a way out for a lot of people to save that extra dollar by planting their veggies. It's going to take a little bit more time and a lot more effort, but at least you'll have fresh veggies coming out of your garden, which means less miles from the grocery store to your table, less miles from the grower in Mexico to the grocery store, because it's going to be coming directly from the garden to the table, and there's no miles in between that. Not only is it more cost efficient to grow your own veggies for fresh veggies, it is also more cost efficient to put up your own produce, whether you're canning, freezing, or preserving it in some way. While costs continue to rise in the stores, gardening is proving to be the answer. We're out here with Gina, and Gina is a fellow co-owner of Miller Flowers. She's also the head grower, and she manages all the seeding schedules, planting, and everything else that goes on out here plant-wise. And so I had a couple questions regarding planting seeds indoors and outdoors, and kind of getting that started, your garden started. Again, all of this information does pertain to the Growing Zone 5. That's what we are here in Darke County, Greenville, Ohio. We are Zone 5, and so our last frost date would be May 15th, or around Mother's Day. So Gina, if I purchased a packet of seeds and I wanted to start them indoors, when should I start those so that they are ready in time to plant them outside around Mother's Day?
So as far as the planting dates and times, it's a little hard to say the exact dates because it's hard to know how the plant is going to grow. But like hot peppers, they take longer to germinate. They take longer to grow and fill out to be very big at all. And so normally you would start like your hot peppers inside towards the mid to end of February if you want any pepper really at all plant to be very big. And then sweet peppers don't take quite as long, but I would still shoot for the end of February or second week of March if you're shooting for that Mother's Day time frame. And then tomatoes would be the same thing. It would kind of fall into the mid to the end of March, and then they would start coming up and they'd start getting, if they get kind of straggly or stringy in the house in April, then what you're going to want to do is go out in and outside for a little bit to kind of harden them off, because you don't want them to get sunburnt. But you also can plant tomatoes deeper, and that will help keep them their stems stronger whenever you're transferring them outside.
So if I'm direct sowing directly into the ground, green beans and corn and the rest of and peas, when should I start those?
Well, first off, there's a few things, like as far as onions and potatoes and peas, you can start them when it's when our ground is still cold. It will not, you don't want to do frozen, but when the ground is still cold, they will still be able to start germinating and take off. But things like corn, it needs a warmer pumpkin. Some of that needs the ground to be really warm in order to germinate properly and to come up. You could still germinate, but you only will get maybe a 20% or 30% germination, or maybe more depending on the season and how all that goes, and whether your ground's warmer than what we say.
So if I'm sowing seeds indoors, what is a good mix for me? Can I use regular potting soil that I dug up from outside? What is your recommendations on what do I use to start my seeds indoors?
You just want a good, light, like fluffier, like peat mix to use with some vermiculite or perlite mixed with it to seed indoors. You want it to be light, like ground soil from outside will not be. It's too heavy and dense. It'll cause your plants to rot off the same way with other potting soil. You just want to make sure that your potting soil you're using indoors is light. A lot of people in the area, I know that we have used like the Jiffy, like little, you put them in water and then they pop up and they can put seeds in them. I know some people use egg cartons and stuff like that to start their seeds in, and I know that works as well. You just have to watch how much you water. Like these right here specifically you could pull them out and they would drain a little bit, or you could dump it out. So you would want to make sure that your seed things can drain so they don't rot in the house. But at the same time, there's a lot of different ways you can plant indoors.
So going from starting seeds to some of our favorite tomatoes, and we do love tomatoes out here at Miller Flowers and in our family. Do you love tomatoes? Once you didn't.
I didn't once love tomatoes. I'm starting to enjoy them more now.
And there's nothing beats a fresh tomato that is harvested from your garden and going straight onto your table.
Or into your mouth.
There's just nothing like it. A fresh tomato, garden tomato. And so thinking of that makes us think of summer, and that makes us excited for summer. So some of our favorite tomatoes.
This is our dazzling dozen mentions. So our first three that we enjoy, we're going to talk about a little bit, is our cherry tomatoes. A lot of these that we are talking about, it's just like a fraction of what we carry, but it is probably our 12 more popular ones, I would say, at least within the three categories that we're talking about. First off, we're going to start off with is the cherry ones. It is Purple Bumblebee. If you haven't tried it, it's a really fun one to try. It's not like super popular, but there's more people asking for it. It's an heirloom cherry. It's reddish purple, I would call it, with some green flakes. And then the other one, if you haven't tried it, you must try it. It is the Sun Sugar. It is a lovely yellow-orange colored tomato, and the flavor is spectacular. It goes great in any salad. It is one tomato that probably, I would say, pretty close to convincing me to enjoy tomatoes. And it goes well, like if you're going to do those little caprese sticks with a fresh mozzarella and basil and a tomato and then a little bit of balsamic vinaigrette drizzled over it, you need that tomato. And then the next one is Indigo Rose. It is similar to, it has a lot of very high antioxidants level in the Indigo Rose for some reason. It's a little larger cherry than your normal cherry tomatoes. But again, the flavor, it starts out really pretty in the garden too. It's like green, and then it turns, of course, green. And then it turns to a very nice purple color. And then it goes to like a orange, like a burnt orange color, and then that's when it's ripe, and that's when you pick it. And it is lovely tomato flavor. The heirlooms that are worth mentioning, it's our visitors come in and they ask for our heirloom tomatoes, and the ones that are popular, my response would probably be Mortgage Lifter if you want a really nice juicy red tomato, or Brandywine. They have a really nice flavor for a reddish color, but very tomato old heirloom variety. And the other one is Cherokee Purple. It's like a color, and it has a really nice flavor. And then Kellogg's Breakfast. It is one of the Miller's family's favorite tomatoes. We plant one every year. It has its spot in one of our back flower beds. It doesn't even make it into the garden because it's so good. It has a very lovely orange yellow flesh. It's low acid, and they're big. I mean, they get really nice size. And slice one of those and put it on a sandwich, or slice one and eat it with some mozzarella and vinaigrette. You can tell where my mind's going right now. I just really must be craving some fresh tomato and mozzarella salad. But least but not least are probably our number one top seller tomatoes. The ones that we sell the most, which is just a normal red tomato that everybody likes because you want to slice it, or you want to juice it, or you want to eat it you just need a red tomato, don't you? So, but that's not really that way because there's so many different red varieties. So the ones that we're going to mention today are the ones that are our most sought after and the ones that everyone seems to love. It is Beefsteak would be one of them. Nice big juicy red tomato, nice slicing tomato. You can throw it in your juice if you want it a little thicker. We go on to Big Boy. I don't know how many hundreds you can get off of a plant. The same way with Better Boy. They bear really well. That's why they're known for their production. Early Girl, it's the earliest tomato that you will that comes on earliest. Supersonic. My mom and dad really enjoy the Supersonic. It's one of our Miller family's favorite. We just like the size of it. It's not overly huge, but it makes a really nice size to slice and stick on a sandwich. And it doesn't crack very well either. It's a very nice, just a tomato. But moving on, we don't want to forget about the sauce because you got sauce to make, right? Or salsa. If you need a meaty tomato that has not very few seeds, you pick those Romas, but you have to pick 100 of them to do anything, right? So there's Super Sauce by Burpee Super Sauce, and it's bigger, more. So we don't want to forget Super Sauce. It's a really great tomato. It has a nice Roma-looking tomato. Very few seeds. Very flavorful. It's very, my mom loves to use it in our salsas. We use it in our sauces. We use it in really mostly anything. We don't really eat it fresh a lot, but we will eat it. We pretty much use it in any canned or
dozen plus one on our tomatoes. And so those are some of our favorites, even though we carry over how many different varieties of tomatoes? 30? 40? We carry a lot of tomatoes during the spring season. So add those to your list because you'll for sure want to plant them in your garden this spring. So that was our favorite tomatoes. Finish our video on seed starting and basically starting seeds. This is our setup out here in the greenhouse. And I wanted to give you a little tour on how we start our seeds out here. So all of our seeds, as you can tell behind me, are in plug trays. They are started in vermiculite, a really light potting soil, like seed starting mix, put in plug trays, and then the seeds are planted in the plug trays, and then they are set on a heating table after that. And this is also set up to a mister system here, that the mister system, it turns on every 30 minutes to an hour, so it's constantly misting and soaking the plants. And so once they start taking root and they're about an inch or so tall, we pull those plugs, or those little baby plants, the seeding table, once they start taking root and getting a little bit like an inch in height. And so that is our setup out here. Sometimes we do put supplement lighting in our greenhouse just if we're starting stuff in January or when we have shorter days. And so that really helps with those shorter days. So if you're starting things indoors, you might want to think about lighting, and if you don't have the lighting, think about supplement lighting. So that is how we start our seeds out here at Miller Flowers. Hopefully all of this has been super helpful for you, and as you start your seeds indoors or outdoors this spring. And thanks for watching our To Plant a Garden episode 3. We hope to see you next time for episode 4.